need to make like a scented candle called like fresh
Oh,
puppy smell.
I need to capture the smell of my next puppy. Here we are, episode 2.
On Let's Boop Snoots.
Let's boop snoots.
So I think we finished up last time on talking about the options that when you're sort of initially talking about getting a dog, choosing a breed versus rescue, looking at application processes and choosing a reputable breeder, blah blah blah. And so on this episode, I think what we were looking at is okay. Now you've got some preparation to do. You need to look at what your situation is and look at the things that you need to have in your house for bringing a dog in. And as well, we might touch a little bit on pet insurance at the end.
Yes. And also, I think we're going to touch on other things to think about
Yeah,
before getting a dog.
yeah.
I guess just
So,
more elaboration on that.
yeah. So you've picked your dog and you're all gung ho now. You've made the decision whether it's a rescue versus a breeder. You're waiting, you're counting down the days till puppers comes to the family.
Yes.
And so some of the conversations that Vero and I were talking about was that you need to think about what you want your relationship to be with your dog. You need to think about what you want your dog ownership to look like in terms of your lifestyle, but also in terms of your household. Your household is a big deal. You know, it's your place. Are you a clean person? Are you a messy person? Because dogs can be messy.
Mhm. And those will also be good indication, to you to see if you've picked the right breed.
hmm So I think some of the things that we just sort of jotted down here was like one of the first things you want to think about is, um, like I just mentioned, how do you envision your relationship with your dog? So I will speak personally to myself when we got our last dog, who is Gibbon, our Weimaraner. We had done two rescues at that point. My husband had had several dogs growing up and stuff, and we wanted a cuddly dog. We wanted a dog that can sit with us on the couch and watch Netflix with us. Both of us were okay with the dog sleeping in bed with us. We realized that the Weimaraner breed is a bit active, and just like my past dogs, my dad is very much a participant in caring for our dogs. So I knew that the exercise wouldn't be an issue because we have a family cottage, and my dad, I always say I have part-time custody of my dogs because he will come and take them literally, especially in the summer, half of the time, and then they run until they can't at the cottage. So I knew that that wouldn't be an issue, but that's kind of the things that I looked at. And so I knew that the breed was a right choice. We were very excited to have this breed. We were very excited to have a puppy, and that's sort of where we started on there. So, but it's very different for a lot of people.
What
Like,
did you say that they call that breed? Like a certain
oh yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
Velcro, a Velcro dog, and
Yes.
very much so. Like, there's nowhere where we go in the houses. So Gibbon has joined us today. This is my Weimaraner Gibbs, and he's in the room with me. And if he's at home with me, he never leaves my side, which is nice because when the rest of my family members leave, sometimes my boys all go to a camp during the summer. I have my own my bodyguard, and
Hmm.
will
See that?
always love. Sorry.
Ooh. And Heidi's back. See, it's funny because when I think of a Weimaraner, I don't think of them as cuddly dogs. It's kind of like when we touched on when Michelle was helping you find a breed and she
Mhm.
suggested the Greyhound as a
Yes.
good family pet. That also surprised me. So when I think of a Weimaraner, I think of a dog that's like a nervous dog, like always on high alert. You can see it, you can almost see it like in their movements or like quick movements, a bit like a maybe a standard poodle. It's kind of like that too. So
Yeah, I think that I
I'm surprised that
so
they're cuddly dogs, but
Well, like I had heard that they were Velcro, but like you said, like all the breeds have their like different traits, their common characteristics and traits. So you're right. When we were initially talking about a breed, and I was sort of mentioning those things that I just said earlier, we wanted a cuddly dog. We're not like super crazy overactive lifestyle folk, and my buddy Michelle there had suggested to me that she thought the perfect dog for our family would be an Italian greyhound, which I had never heard of. They're sort of like one of the smaller versions of the greyhound, and apparently they're super lazy dogs that are just like couch surfers. And I was like, but again, I was being a bit superficial and didn't like the sort of look of the breed, and that's not what I had in mind for a dog. But I knew that Weimaraners were cuddly. I knew they, like I said, they're called Velcro dogs, but
Mhm.
I knew that their other common traits were the separation anxiety. And when I was contacting the breeder, I asked what his experience of this was, and we knew that we had our other dog Becky, and I said, does having a second dog around help with the separation anxiety? And the breeder expressed to me that yes, he found that it helped with a lot of families, um, but at the same time, it all depends on what the personality of your dog was. So knowing this and doing research, which is sort of like what we wanted to discuss a bit today, doing your research now that you've chosen your breed and stuff. Okay, if I get a super separation anxious dog, now what am I going to do to correct that behavior? So I
Yes.
made sure that I had extensive conversations with the breeder and with my my best friend there, Michelle, that would know how to cope with it and deal with it and correct it if that ended up being the situation, which it wasn't. Woohoo! So
Yes.
he's done pretty well, and I'm very pleased with how things went. Very important to look up breed characteristics and traits, and how are you gonna go about doing that?
Yes. So that's funny because the qualities that I was looking for in a dog when I got my first dog, Wiggum, were pretty much the same qualities. So cuddly, a little bit active, just like playful, but then wants to cuddle up during quieter times. And then I got a Labrador Retriever, Wiggum, and I got the total opposite. You know Wiggum, Heidi. So
Yes, I do.
Wiggum was very mellow. If you were to compare Wiggum to a cartoon character, it would be Eeyore.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I would come home from work, and what you would expect from a lab is that they would greet you at the door, just excited, do those little tippy tappies, like they're so excited that their feet go up and down, and it's like tuck, 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 and the tail is wagging. And what I got when I got home was most of the time was nothing.
He's just like laying in his crate. But at the same time, it's like no matter what you asked him to do, like he was super mopey. Because there was that one time where Vero was staying with me for a very short period of time, and between moves, and Vero was at work or off doing something, and I had to crate him. So I'm like, okay, we kept the crate upstairs in our spare room where Vero was staying, and I was like, all right, buddy, like time to get to the crate, and he would do two steps and then like sit down and turn around and look up at me like,
Like,
really?
really?
And I'm like,
Really?
okay, come on, dude, come on. And then another two steps, and then he'd sit down and turn around and look up at me like, really? And I was like, you love your crate. What's going on? We got to get
I
going, bud.
know, but
So
even when he was not in the crate, I'd get home from work and I'd be like, "Is there a dog in here?" And then he would look at me like I was bothering him, and then he'd put his head down, and then he'd do the sound like, like an old man, like, "Stop bugging me," and then be like, "Okay, I guess I'll get up because I need to pee." But then there were some days where he greeted me at the door, so I don't know.
see, yeah, I have two young kids, and actually, even talking about the whole door greeting thing, that's one of the things you need to think about. And for instance, with Gibbon, with a dog who can, lean towards being having more of this separation anxiety, when the coming and leaving of the house is a very important thing that you have to be very conscious of when dealing with separation anxiety.
Yes.
So you're not to make a big deal when you leave, and you're not to make a big
Mhm.
deal when you come home, because
Exactly.
it revs them all up, and just charges that anxiety if there's any there. So like our dogs, they get like, well, Becky not so much, because Becky's just like, whatever, like, come go, I don't care. Becky's a very independent woman. The diva of the household, one of them anyways. And but Gibbon, he's like I said, alert. He's like, there's a person here, there's a person, I want to see that person, I want to cuddle that person, I want to sit on that person's lap, does that person have a treat? Like, he's very, but mind you, he's still very young too, but we were very in the beginning very cautious of how we did our
Yes.
entrance and exits to the home because of what that could have caused.
I think the being so mellow was just Wiggum's personality, but then I wonder if I did the whole, like, not making leaving and coming home such not a big deal that it just became
Yeah.
like he just didn't get excited.
and and you don't really know, right? Like, I'm very very pleased with how Gibbon turned out, and I don't know whether it was part of the training I did or part of his personality, but I think in the end it's a little bit of everything, I think. Because when my kids come home, they like, especially my younger son, he's always very excited to see the dog. So when we come home, it's always a big deal. It's like, "Oh, we're home,
Mhm.
we're home." I'm like, "Gibbon, oh my god, my doggy." And they touch him and they cuddle him and stuff like that. However, and I was worried, like, especially during COVID, since we were home so much, how this was going to affect his behavior. But I've gone out, like, my dad had the dogs at the cottage all last week, and they were back this week, and today had a lot of stuff to do, is out running all over the place, and I decided, I'm going to leave him out of the crate and see how he does, and he did just fine.
Good. Way to go, Gibbon.
Yay, Gibbs! And I don't know if that's part of, like, the sort of base standard training that I did, or part of his
Oh,
personality. He is a
probably,
bit
or a
older.
mix. Yeah.
Yeah, or a mix. But very happy with Mr. Gibbs today.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just important to keep in mind, like, how you want your relationship to look, how you want these things. Like, you can go into as much of the minutia as you can. Like, how do you want them to be when they do you want them to greet you at the door? Do you not want them to? Do you want them to bark when somebody comes to the house? Do you not want them to bark?
Yes.
Do you want them to sleep in your bed? Do you not want them to sleep on your bed? Are they allowed on the furniture? Are they not?
Do you want them at the kitchen table while you're eating or even in the kitchen while you're prepping food and other
Yeah,
things? Yeah. And you really need to make sure that everybody that's in the household, um, in the immediate circle of your dog, are all on the same page because you don't want one person doing one thing and then another person doing something else, and it's just very confusing for the dog.
it's very similar to parenting, right? Like, you need consistent rules when dealing with behaviors, whether it be human
Yeah.
or animal.
Yeah.
But yes,
It's
if you
kinda
have
like you can't have
roommates
mom saying yes and then dad saying
and dad
no.
saying no,
Mhm.
because then they're gonna, when they want something, they're gonna go to dad every time. Like, and when they want something else, they're gonna go to mom every, and then you get like these weird inconsistencies, and it can it can stir up behaviors that are not desirable,
Yeah.
I would say. But
Yes.
yes, it's very important to have those discussions. I would
Yes.
say,
Set the
even like with,
boundaries.
and I think with someone with family, it's easy to have those discussions and to monitor it a bit more because you're a bit closer. But if you're in a situation where you have roommates and stuff, I would delve a little deeper into the conversation and say, all right, like, I'm getting a dog.
Mhm.
I know you're okay with it. My plan is to let it on the furniture. Like, are you okay with that? My plan is to crate them. Are you okay with that? Like all these things, make sure they're on board, because, and I would ask them what the deal breakers are,
Yeah.
because you don't, like, that can ruin a friendship,
Yeah.
if you're not both very prepared for it. So, if a dog
That's
is,
right.
you can't, if you can't even get a handle on the toilet training, and now you have the dog like ruining the property that you're renting, or even if it's yours, or even if it's theirs, that again, these are issues that you can tackle, like, right out the get-go.
Yeah. And then once you get your dog, there's things that you need to think about, like when you have friends coming over. I know when I had Wiggum and I had friends or family coming over, I would always tell them, when you ring the doorbell or knock on the door and then I let you in, don't make a big deal. Like,
Mhm.
don't excite Wiggum. Just wait
Mhm.
like a couple of minutes. Let him do his thing. Wiggum was very good. I think he just jumped on one person. And then
Mhm.
after that, it was just like greeting them, but not being really in that person's face. Like he would just go to the door and just kind of be there when the person came in. So it was kind of easy. But yeah, you just have to make people aware of what you want for your dog.
That's a nice place to be, right? Like, because you don't want people walking into your house and being like literally like accosted by dogs,
Yes.
and because you never know, and like the people that are going to be coming into your home, it's pizza night here every Friday night, and we get pizza from the same place, and the same delivery guy comes. He like knows our order by heart, and this guy is terrified of dogs. So he'll stay
Ooh,
like outside at the bottom of the stairs, and if he sees them, you can see him sort of like recoil a bit. And but like we taught them like pretty youngish that when they come to the door, they sit like beyond the front hall so that you can give people their space to take off their shoes, take off their jacket,
yeah.
whatever. They stay there until like the person is ready to greet the dog. And again, like that does take a lot of work, and you need people on board like your family. Unlike like I mentioned my father earlier and how he has part-time custody, my dad was never on board with any of the training, and he's sort of like the bane of my existence. I work so hard to
Oh,
treat to work the thresholds, right? It's called thresholds. Like, wait until I go out of the door first, and then I give them a command like, okay, like it's your turn. That means release,
yeah.
like they can walk out the door after me and stuff like that. And same thing when I take them for a walk or we're going out anywhere, they sit at the front door, and they sit calmly so that I can get their leashes on, get all my stuff together, and only when I open the door and say okay do they move from their spot.
Yes.
Whereas my dad comes in and it's like Santa Claus. He's like, doggies want to go for a walk. Doggies want to go for a walk. And like my dogs go like nuts. They like bark and jump and nip at him. And he's like, don't nip at me. I told you I didn't like that. And I'm like, they don't understand you, Dad. They don't
You
understand what you're
excite
saying to
them.
them. I even
Yeah.
I even showed them. I'm like, watch how I do it. And so that's just the way that's going to be. But whenever they come back from my father's, like going to the cottage with them, I notice that they test their boundaries with me. It's like kids coming home from grandmas and
Yeah.
grandpas.
I think you said that they're, like, super excited too, right? When they come home from the cottage?
They well, they're physically exhausted, but there's been no
Their
mental
mind
exhaust.
is like
Their
yeah.
mind is like on pure instinct drive. So like to look at me and to listen to me is much harder when they've come back from like a weekend, or like in this case this weekend, a full week at the cottage. They're just super excitable, super impulsive, and it's because all of that like natural instinct of theirs is in like overdrive. They
Yeah.
yeah, but
Oh, I've never had that with Wiggum.
oh my god. I can't wait till you get your
Mister
next dog.
Mellow.
I know.
I know, and, like, I used to call him also the no care bear because he just didn't care about anything.
He so didn't. He so
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever get a dog like Wiggum again. Like, he's just very special.
He was very unique. He was like definitely a one of
Yeah.
a kind. They all
I
are
love my
in their
Wiggy.
different ways. They all are in their different ways. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was special. He was special.
And I think
So
we talked about other things to think about before getting a dog. Like, are you going to have any major changes in your life soon? So,
mhm.
any big moves, thinking about starting a family, new job, new schedule. So, these are all things to think about that would could be very stressful on a dog.
Or even change your lifestyle, making it less
Yeah.
accommodating to a dog.
Yeah. And just for you also, if you're thinking about starting a family and getting a puppy at the same time,
Oh
it's
my
a lot
god.
of work. A lot of work.
It's like having twinsies, two newborns at the same time.
Yeah. One onesie for you, one onesie for you.
They are. They're like babies. They're like
They
newborns
are.
in the beginning. If you get a pup, it is. It's like being
Oh,
mindful
and they
of.
smell good.
Oh, they do that
Smell
fresh
like
puppy
puppy, just
smell.
like babies smell like babies. I stop comparing dogs to humans,
I know, but it
but they have
is
that puppy smell.
fresh puppy smell. We need to make like a scented candle called like fresh
Oh,
puppy smell.
I need to capture the smell of my next puppy into a candle.
But you're totally right about the major life changes, though. Like I can remember joining my breeder's Facebook page, and they would, whenever they got a return, they would put it out there on Facebook, like, "Hey, this dog just came back to
Oh,
us. Unfortunate, like life changes." But like, so over the past 3 years, since I've had them on my as part of my Facebook community, I would say one of the top reasons was pregnancy. It was baby. Like they had a
yeah.
baby and it just was too much and they couldn't work it out
Oh,
and they
that would
couldn't.
break my heart.
Oh God, me too. I wanted to take them all. I would just have like a flock of Weimaraners all velcroed to me, each side
Yeah.
of me.
And
But
they do become like family.
yes.
So, like, parting ways with your doggy after having them for 2, 3, 4, 5 years
Hmm.
must be difficult.
Yes. Do you
Like, making that decision.
I think we were talking about the movie A Dog's Life the last time we were hanging
Yes, we
out,
need to
Vero?
watch that
So
with a box of Kleenex.
we're gonna yes, we're gonna watch and
We're gonna
review
ugly
and
cry.
yes, we are. That is like one of the hugest ugly cry movies ever. But I was saying to Vera that they did a very good job of capturing the different types of like dog ownership. And they're, for those of you that haven't seen it, I don't want to, spoiler alert anything, but one of them was like like a young couple, and then they get together and they move in and then they have the kids and start the young family. And it was showing like how the dog, like it shows it all from the dog's
Mhm.
perspective, right?
I
So
haven't seen it yet,
I
so
know
I'm, like, excited to see it, but I know I'm gonna cry.
it was interesting watching that part of the movie for me because I was just like, yeah, that's because we had Scraps before we had our children, Officer Scraps, our first dog. So
Yes.
so I didn't feel bad, but like the dog does kind of, and again, as much as I slag on my dad for it, thank God we had my dad around because
Mhm.
if you have a dog first and then introduce children to your life, uh, the dog does sort of take a bit of a sidebar for a bit, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
But
I can imagine.
Scraps was well established before we had our kiddos. But oh my God, yeah, you totally got to think about that stuff. And watching that part of the movie was like enlightening. I was like, oh, Scrappy, Scrappy, no.
Oh.
But no, Scraps was good, and the kids loved him, and everybody was very good to
Yeah.
Scraps. So I don't feel too bad. Um, so yeah, and just while we touched on the dog's life and talking about the different relationships, it's like there is like we can speak to our own, which is we wanted a companion, a pet, a
Yes.
we
A
love
snuggle
them.
bug.
It's why we're doing this whole show. But
Yes.
there's lots of different reasons. My neighbors behind us bought this massive mastiff. That's like sounds like a tongue twister. Massive mastiff. Massive
Massive
mastiff.
mastiff. Massive mastiff.
MM. Massive
A
mastiff.
double M.
Double M. And they bought it because her husband owned a concrete company and they bought them for security purposes. And then again, it didn't work out. And my guess is that they probably did not research or plan for the training
Mhm.
aspect of it, and he ended
Yeah.
up in her backyard because they had a tiny dog and it didn't get along with the tiny dog. So the small dog was supposed to be for the house and the massive mastiff was for the property, and it didn't work out that way, so they had to bring the home, and he sat in the backyard. I felt bad for the guy, and
Yeah.
then they ended up
Oh,
moving, so I don't know what that guy
you don't know
turned
what
out.
happened.
I don't know what happened to massive mastiff.
Oh, massive mastiff.
I
Where are
know.
you?
Where are you? What are you doing? Is that small dog kicking you outside?
Oh.
I know.
Yeah, you really have to look at, like, if you want a dog for protective purposes, like, don't get I don't know, don't get like a French bulldog or don't get a golden retriever.
Or
Like intruders can just bring treats and like, here you go. And like Wiggum would have been like, hey, come on in, give me that treat. I'll show you where all the where all the good stuff is.
is that an extra sock you have in your hand?
Oh yeah, Wiggum liked to swallow socks.
Oh my god.
And that's something I'd be curious to ask your friend Michelle on how she would handle that.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't know what to do to stop him. Like, I don't know why he did it.
And it's weird
Yeah,
because
like,
because
one
you're
day,
yeah.
he was, like, carrying the socks, like, he would just carry one to his bed, and I thought it was kinda cute, and then one day, he just swallowed it, like, he didn't even chew it.
He's such a weirdo.
I know,
But
and it's
yeah,
just
I
I
remember
didn't
that.
know what to do, so it was just put the socks away, but then it's like he just
But
knew.
it happens
Like, when I
in
did
a
laundry, he
household.
knew exactly where to go.
Exactly, exactly. Or like, if you were even in my house where kids leave socks literally sprinkled all over the place. I can remember when you brought them over, I was like, "Okay, I got to make sure there's like no socks or
Yeah,
dishcloths, right?" Because it's
yeah,
something you got to watch out for. But
and the food bin.
oh my god, okay, Vero,
Oh,
you
that
got to
was
tell that
funny.
story.
So I stayed with Heidi for a few days in between moves, and me and Heidi were on the couch, and Wiggum was around, and we're just kinda chatting, and we start hearing this noise, and it's like, "Hum, hum, hum," and we're like, "What's that noise?" And Wiggum had opened the food bin with his head and had his head stuck in the food bin, and he was just, like,
Going to
go
town. I've never seen
going to town.
I've never seen anything like it. He wasn't even
Yeah.
swallowing. It was literally he
No,
literally made that sound. It was
that's how he ate. Yeah, I was, like, inhaling it. So, if Wiggum were to ever, like, have his dinner and then for some reason would puke after, it would come out all intact.
Just like dry it out, rebag it for like
Yeah.
tomorrow's meal.
Yeah. And then he would eat it again.
Oh
But
my
yeah.
god. As dogs do.
Yeah.
As dogs do.
He just inhaled his food.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that
my
was another
god.
thing I had to be careful was, like, Wiggum was so food oriented that
Yes.
you can leave any food around.
And you get a lot of I don't know whether that's a breed specific thing. I'm sure it is with certain ones, but
I think labs are just like that.
I've heard that of them, but then I've heard of like so many people who have dogs who are not food oriented at all, which makes training a bit more difficult, right? But there's different ways you can reward a dog
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But also another thing to be conscious of when choosing your breed, choosing your dog, or just even meeting the dog for the first time. So let's say you were to do a rescue and you have one of your meetings with them. I would ask that about them, and I would bring treats with you and see what you can get them to do, if they can follow you, like follow
Yeah,
your hand
that's
with
a
the
good
treat in
idea.
it and stuff like that, to see how easy training is going to be for you. Because I think
Yes.
personally, I've never had a dog that wasn't food oriented. They all were,
Yeah.
and I find that that makes a huge difference into how your
Oh,
training's gonna go.
definitely. Because I could
Yalls.
get Wiggum to do anything for a
Yeah,
treat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like if he was loose or if I let's say I was at the dog park and it was time to go home, like Wiggum had pretty good recall, but sometimes like he knew me calling him was meant time to go home.
yeah.
So if I had a treat, he would come over. Or let's say I forgot the treat bag, all I have to yell was like, "Peanut butter!" And he'd come running.
Oh
And
man.
then when I got home, I had to give him peanut butter, but yeah.
Which kind of brings us to our next topic, which is like sort of making a list of things that you should have ready to go, like in your home when you bring
Yes.
your dogo home.
So you're getting a puppy and you're super excited and you're wondering, what are the essentials that I need to get?
So one thing I will recommend is several of the major pet store chains, such as in Canada, Pet Value, PetSmart. I know is a it's an American conglomerate as well. They all have a. If you go in there and say I'm getting a puppy, they give you this little package with
Mm.
coupons and everything, and you get like a free dog wash, and you get like a 2-for-1 treat bag, and you get like all these. If you buy three things, you get 30% off. Like all these different like cool, neat little things.
See,
So
I didn't even know that.
yeah, so I would check out with like the stores that you plan on doing your shopping at and just say, "Hey, do you guys have like
Yes.
a puppy
A
package? I'm getting a puppy.
puppy package.
A PP, puppy
A
package."
PP, a double P. Do you have a double P from a double M?
From a massive mastiff. Massive. But yeah, so again, once you think about the relationship you want to have, about the type of training you might want to do, then yes, I would say make a list. I would make not only a list of the types of training that you want to do for your dog, like, so, even thinking of like, okay, do I want to do threshold? So make a note of that threshold training. Do I want to
Mhm.
do crate training? Okay, crate training. Yeah, add that to the list
Yes.
and start researching like those things because it will give you an idea. And then you also have like the puppy checklist, which is,
Puppy checklist.
you know, your
So your basic gear requirements. So a
ex-
collar, a leash, depending on which leash you want to use. Make sure you do your research because there's different types of leashes, and you want to make sure that you're using it correctly so that you don't hurt your dog.
yes,
Other things to think about when you're getting your puppy is a vet.
yes.
So I think the best way to find a vet is to really just ask around people that that have dogs. Ask them if they like their vet, like what's their approach. I know I really like my vet for Wiggum. They had a really good approach where like it wasn't pushy. So let's say I would go to the vet with an issue. They would say, we can do this, this, and that, but let's just start with number one and see where we go. Whereas other vet would be like, well, let's do this and let's do that. And we need to do that. And you need to get all of this.
And
And
not
it's
only
just
that,
really
but
expensive.
some of them like really like hone in on like they guilt
Oh,
you
yeah.
almost. The
They
first
pull your heartstrings.
Yes. So the first vet that we had with Scraps was like that. It was like car salesman pressure sales every time you
Ugh.
went in. And I can remember one day, like I made an appointment and I had like a shift schedule change like at work. So I asked my dad, would you mind taking them? And he said, yeah. And I said, I said to my dad, this hardcore, tiny, like built like a brick house German, like Southern German, like troll, basically, who's like super intimidating. I said to my dad, I'm like, Dad, they are going to talk you into buying food. They're going to talk you into extra shots. They're going to talk you into another visit.
Mhm.
They're going to try to push as much as possible. Just say no. I'm like, just say no. He's going for his shots. I need rabies. I need lepto. That's it. And walk out the door. So I come home. I come home from work and
Oh,
there's a
no.
big friggin' bag of science diet in my front hallway. And I was like, Dad, no. Anyways, he got
They got you.
they got even the angriest of German trolls. It was insane. I could not believe it. But anyways, so we
Your
switched
dad
from them.
definitely have a little soft spot for his grand fur babies.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? He like tucks them in at night.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's pretty
no,
cute.
that was surprising. And after after that, I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to this vet anymore. If like my dad can't even survive them, like I need to go." So yeah, I asked around. I heard some very good reviews from one in a different area. It's still pretty close to my house, but what I like about them is the same thing. Like they'll give you a menu, like we can do this, 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 or this. And I say, I only want to do this and this, and they go, okay. And that's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And sometimes if you're getting a dog from a breeder or even a rescue, they might be able to recommend vets. So I
Yes.
know I went with the vet that the breeder used. And then there's pet insurance. Some people are really for it. Some people are against it. I know I have a friend, Heidi, you know her,
Hmm.
Nicole.
Hmm.
She has 2 golden retrievers. So I'm a little bit jealous because she has 2 and I don't even have 1.
Harper and
But I'm
Avery.
on my way. I'm on my way of getting one.
Yes.
She has pet insurance for both her golden retrievers. Their names are just a second. Their names are Harper Waffles, Harper Waffles, is over 5. So her pet insurance is about $66 a month. And then there's Avery Sprinkles, who is under 5, and her pet insurance is $55 a month. So I was asking Nicole about how when do they reassess the price of the pet insurance,
Hmm.
because it depends on age. So the younger your dog is when you initially get pet insurance, the cheaper it's going to be. So they reassess when they're over 5 years old. And then I believe it's the same price from 5 to 10 years old. And then 10 and up is more expensive. And I was asking her, what does it cover? Like, what kind of plan did she get? So she said it covers 80% of any exam fees and taxes. Not like your annual exam, but if you're going in for emergency care, so it'll cover 80% of that fee. 2,500 per accident, 2,500 per condition per year, and 300 for dental care per year. And they're very happy that Avery has it because she has had a lot of ear infection. I don't know if you heard the story about her licking scissors and cutting her tongue.
Yes, I did. I remember that.
Yes, and she has a little like notch on her tongue now. You can see
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's had like a few things that it covered, whereas Harper, I guess, has not needed yet. So you never know. So I kind of did a quick calculation of how much it would have cost for Wiggum at about, I think I said $40 a month for 11 years. And it came up to about just a little over $5,000. So I don't think I spent that much for Wiggum, but I would say kind of close. I would say maybe 35 to $4,000 with all the sock swallowing
Yes.
and dish rag that we pulled out of his bum. Not we, but the vet.
It's another thing to consider when you're choosing your breed and stuff. So you want to look at what some of the common health issues are, what they might be down the
Mhm.
road, and look at what those costs are at the vet. I think vets are sort of like lawyers in that um they cost a lot of money. People know, like whenever you say, oh, and I had to take them to the vet, people go, oh my god, how much? And people compare their horror
Yes.
stories of like vet bills, right? And
It's
as
like
well,
$70 as soon as you walk through the door.
well, exactly.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you don't necessarily trust them.
Yeah. No,
Horrible
it's
thing to
true.
say about vets and lawyers, but kind of true. But
Mhm.
you don't know whether you can trust them or not, right? And are they going to pressure sales you into a bunch of stuff? Are they going to investigate a lot of things? And I would say a lot of the population tends to humanize their pets, and especially their dogs. We've
Yes.
compared them to humans. People will tug on your human strings to be like, well, went. So for instance, when we went to take Scraps to get fixed at this vet, we went in to for the pre-op visit, and they're like, now, if you went in for surgery, they would give you an IV with fluid, so we highly recommend your dog gets that as well. It just, it helps them if we get into any trouble, and we find that they recover faster. So what are you going to say, like, no? Like, and most people like get talked into this kind of stuff, right? So I think when you talk about pet insurance, it's one of those controversial topics where a lot of people have varying degrees of stories. So I remember being shocked talking to Nicole because she was like, "Oh, it's 100% worth it." Whereas
Yeah.
I took Scraps to the vet every year for his shots, which was like under $100. And then there was the one time he got porcupined, and the same with Becky. Becky gets shots, and again that same freaking porcupine almost a year to the date. um, got her. I was just like, did you guys not talk to each other about this spiky animal? But anyways, and that was like
Mhm.
$600 a pop for each dog. So I'm not a huge believer in pet insurance, and I can remember a friend of ours making the suggestion, which made a lot of sense to me. If you have the ability to do this, the focus, the ability, and the impulse control to do this, open up an extra bank account. Put
Mhm.
20
Yeah.
bucks in it a month, or a paycheck. So put 40 bucks away a month. And then if something happens to your dog, awesome, you've got money to do it with. And if not,
Right.
take a trip to Mexico. Not anymore because of COVID. renovate your
Yeah.
home, start a podcast,
Yes.
make some merch. But so I think it's, yeah, like I said, another one of those topics is there's some people who are very much for it, people who are very much against it, and again,
Yes.
um, I think another thing that adds to that is how quickly are you to jump into taking your animal to the vet. So my dogs come back from a week at the cottage. They're limping for the first 2 days because I think they have pulled muscles from all the running that they do. Because again,
Yeah.
there's no dog training up there. There's no control, so they just run like the wild beasts that they are. And but I don't worry about it because I know that after 3 days they sleep like dogs. And like baby dogs. And then they're fine. Whereas some other dog owners are like, oh, I noticed my dog was limping today, like I better take them in, and they're so quick to go in, and then next thing you know they're
Yeah.
taking an x-ray and they're taking all this stuff, and that might be something covered by a pet insurance. And so if you don't have it, then you're paying out of pocket every time you're worried about your dog limping or having a sneeze or something like
Yeah.
that.
I think it might help also that I think it helps that we're in the medical field
Yes.
and we're able to do that quick assessment of,
Of like, okay, are we gonna
is this actually urgent, or we can wait it
exactly.
out a little bit, or this is just
It kind of
something
reminds
normal.
me
Yeah.
of a meme that I saw once where it said, sorry, mommy's a nurse, we only go to the doctor if you're dying.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is kind of true.
So I did read an article because,
Hmm.
that's, I
Yes.
like reading articles
Yes.
that
Nar.
only, and I was surprised by this. I thought it would be higher. And I don't know if this article is true or not, but only, I think it was like 4.6% of Canadian dog owners get pet insurance.
Really?
But then, like, how do they survive these companies?
It's, yeah, well, I don't know. That's a good question because
That seems pretty low, eh?
did it say Canadians or did it say North Americans?
Yeah, it was Canada.
Then maybe it's Merca because maybe these are American
Oh,
companies. What are some of the big ones again?
oh,
I
maybe.
think Trupanion is one.
Yeah, Pet Secure,
Let's see. I'm
True
curious.
Panion, Pet Plan, Pet Secure, Pet Plus Us. That seems to be the four most popular in Canada.
Yeah, because that says that, yeah, Canada's number one pet insurance.
Hmm.
And whereas I
And you
wonder
could get a
if
lot of, I guess, like you can start off pretty cheap where if it's just for accidents, it's like $15-$20 a month. But then you get all these premiums that you can add, like emergency care, surgery, prescriptions, illness that you can add. And then it just really quickly adds up.
can I ask you a
It's,
question?
it's kind of like human insurance.
Yes. Are you gonna get pet insurance for you when you get your poopers?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah, me neither.
No, because I've never had any. Yeah, maybe this time will be different. But with Wiggum, besides like a couple of, maybe more than a couple, maybe like two, maybe three, four vet visits because of potential socks in the digestive system. Yeah, besides that, there was nothing much.
Yeah.
So, and I believe I'm getting him from a reputable breeder,
Hmm.
which also might help you make that decision. If you're getting him from a good breeder and they're doing all the health clearances, the hip, the elbows, the eyes, the heart,
Yes.
you can expect your dog to have less illnesses or be less affected by that. So
True dat. Also, if you
we
run
will
into
see. You never know.
yeah, but like, and if you run into some of the bigger problems, like if they get like like cancer within the first year or whatever, like breeders will usually take the dog back or and provide you with like a
Yeah.
replacement dog and stuff like that.
Yes, they usually have a couple of year guarantee.
And I wonder,
Which I don't know, like, how I would feel, like, if I'd
I
have
know,
my dog for a couple of years and then all of a sudden
yeah,
he would fall ill.
I wonder if there's
Hmm.
like, I wonder if there's a statute of like limitations between like individual breeders and stuff. And I wonder if the Humane Society does the same. I imagine that they
Yeah.
would. I think, but I again, I wonder what the what the time limit is on that. Like whether it's 6 months,
Yeah.
1 year, 2 years, and at that two
I know the
and
breeder that I'm getting my puppy from, it said 2 years.
2 years. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be a little attached. A
Yeah.
little, a lot.
A little, a lot. I was attached after like day one with Gibbs
Yeah.
and Becky
It's like,
and
I
Scraps.
know this might be too soon, but I love you. On your way home from the breeder.
So I got Gibbs from a breeder in Montreal, which was like 2 hours outside of Ottawa, and I can remember I have a photo. I'll post it on her Insta of literally day one driving him home, and the look on his face is like sheer terror. I
Oh,
felt
no.
so bad. You kind of feel bad, right? You're like stealing this like
Yeah.
child away from its mother.
Yeah, and his, like, siblings.
I know.
And he
My j-
kept seeing, like, his siblings leaving, like, one by one that day. It's like, "Where are they going?"
I know. But anyways, I had a blanket ready to go for him in the car and I sang to him the entire way home and he fell asleep.
Oh, see Wiggum whined the whole time.
I sing to him every time we're in the car together and I think he's like it's soothing. It's our little thing.
It's like your moment.
It's our little moment
It's a little
together.
moment.
Doggy moments.
Do you sing songs to Gibbon and then you change the words to the song so that it's
Um
like
yeah, yeah I do. Yeah,
yeah,
I do. Yeah, I do.
yeah,
Uh
me too.
my children are starting to do it as well and it makes me very proud. I can't think of any off
Mhm.
the top of my head right now, but y'alls. Y'alls.
Yeah.
So, I think we covered like a lot of what we wanted to today. And I think what our plan is for the next episode would be the types of training because ooh,
Mhm.
there's a lot to cover there. Ooh,
Yes, and I have some bigger plans for this puppy
oh
that
my
I'm getting.
God.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Ooh,
Mm.
ooh,
Mm.
ooh, let's boop
Stay
snoots.
tuned.
Let's boop
Stay tuned
snoots.
next week.
All right, see you next week.
See you next
Bye.
week. Bye. Woof.
All right.
Woof. You can delete that. It's because last week. Because last week Heidi came over, and when she left, we were like, woof. Woof. Woof.